World War II lasted from 1939 to 1945. There's many different events and aspects that affected the war and the American citizens, including the Holocaust.
The Holocaust was an underlying aspect of the war that dominated throughout Europe and created issues even in the United States.
Roughly 6 million Jews and about 5 million non-Jews died during the Holocaust.
Jews were slowly treated worse and worse with all of Hitler's actions. The Nuremberg laws first stripped Jews of their citizenship. Later on, Hitler sent victims to concentration camps all throughout Europe.
The Jews first sent to these camps did not understand the immediate danger they were in. Before entering the famous concentration camp Auschwitz, victims read a gate that translates to, "Work will make you free."
It was late at night that we arrived at Auschwitz. And then we were welcomed by a speech from one of those couples. He said, "You saw that sign that Arbeit macht frei, that means freedom through labor." He said, "Don't make any mistakes. Nobody needs your labor here. You did not come here to work. You came here to be killed. You're just waiting your turn."
When the people would enter the camp, they would first be separated by their age, strength, and overall usefulness to the Nazis. If someone was weak, old, or had a disability, they would be immediately sent to the gas chambers to be killed. The rest of the prisoners were removed of everything they had with them and then sent to work very strenuous jobs.
Prisoners suffered from malnutrition and were mistreated. They were forced to work in horrible conditions with no regard to safety or health.
Many prisoners thought that they were being annihilated through work, with hard tasks and extreme labor. A large percentage of deaths came from these unsafe working conditions.
In 1944, liberation of concentration camps began.
As Allied troops moved across Europe in a series of offensives against Nazi Germany, they began to encounter tens of thousands of concentration camp prisoners suffering from starvation and disease. Only after the liberation of the camps was the scope of Nazi brutality exposed to the world.
American forces liberated many concentration camps, including Buchenwald and Flossenburg, but for a lot of camps it was too late. By 1943, the Germans shut many camps in Poland down after most of the Jews there had already been killed.
Along with this, when the Nazis found out that the troops were coming to liberate the camps, they took the remaining of prisoners on a death march. A death march was a way to easily kill a mass amount of people from their state of malnutrition and overall weakness.
And we started walking. We walked for days. I'll never forget it. I don't know how many days we walked. We walked, and then we took cattle cars, and then we walked again. And as we walked, we heard gunshots, and they told us to keep on marching. We heard gunshots, and they were shooting people in the back who couldn't keep up with the walking. It ended up being called the Dead March.
The small percentage of prisoners who survived resembled skeletons and were so weak they could hardly move. These survivors of the camps had a long and difficult road to recovery after liberation.
The trauma of the Holocaust did not end for the survivors when it was over. They had to try to make new lives for themselves and deal with the hardships and scary memories of their Holocaust lives. Many had a difficult time moving on, having conflicting feelings about their survival and traumatizing experience, and in some cases, feeling guilty that they made it out alive while many others did not.
Stories of survival and tragedy are passed down within families to remember victims of the Holocaust and to never forget the 6 million Jews and 5 million non-Jews who were murdered at the hands of the Nazis. This is extremely important so an event like this never happens again and people learn to stand up for themselves and others.